JuJu Lewis to Colorado? Well, I mean, he took an official visit. Crazier things have happened, I suppose. That's Brian Smith, our Locked On Recruiting Insider here at the network, brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. Brian, is there a chance that Colorado could be the team to flip JuJu Lewis, if anybody? Because amidst the decommitments at USC, which we'll get to, JuJu's still committed to the Trojans, but how big of a player is Colorado here?
Well, his dad called the visit real, and his dad's the one that kind of runs his recruiting ship. So I'd have to think they're at least in the boat. The question is, and JuJu's asking price, from what I'm told, is massive, probably more his dad actually, for the NIL. How much is Colorado offering? What else are they trying to offer? Because I assume after Shedeur, they don't really have a plan. They're going to have to either go portal or get a high school kid. Obviously, Julian is one of the few kids that could come in. So playing time and what's the NIL? Because I still just don't see it. But he did, like you said, to open, he took the visit. So Auburn is closer. USC obviously has Lincoln Riley. That's self-explanatory. I'll believe it when I see it, but he did take the visit.
Do you feel like Colorado is third in the JuJu? You'd have to say USC is still the leader because they still have his verbal commitment. And despite all the chatter and the talk and people saying this, that, and the other thing, he is still remained committed to USC. But is Auburn the more likely school to flip him from the Trojans?
Yes, it's 2 hours from home. I've made the drive myself. I live in Auburn. It takes 2 hours to get to JuJu's high school from where I'm standing. That's just convenient. I know the family likes living where they do in this area. It's easygoing life. It's cheaper. That's my pick long term, is him to end up at Auburn. But it could still be SC, although their recent decommitments give me pause about their class and the direction of their program.
So they have had a couple of five-star guys along the defensive line flip their commitments. One, I think, flipped to Georgia. The other is expected to. Those are not offensive players, though. They are still a part, or they were a part of USC's class. So if you're JuJu Lewis and you're assessing, okay, I've got Auburn after me, I've got, don't forget about Indiana. Long live the Hoosiers. Yeah, that's not going to happen. We all know. But I'm sorry, Indiana. That was an unwarranted shot. But Colorado's trying to make a pitch. Auburn is in the running. USC is where he's currently committed to, with arguably the best quarterback coach in college football in the last 10, 20 years or so in terms of Heisman winners and first-round draft picks, if you care about that sort of thing. If you were JuJu, Brian, what would you prioritize? How would you look at those decommitments from USC's class? And do you think that impacts him in a major way?
I've been told that he wants to play with great players, and amen to that. It's one of the reasons he looked at Auburn, because of the wide receivers they signed last year. Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman out wide, and they got two other studs in the class too, is a big reason Auburn's in it. You look at USC, what's their Achilles? They stunk on defense. He wanted to see them turn around because he wants to win. Amen to that. Well, if you're not getting the elite kids and they're going to the same schools that you're turning down, how's that going to end for you? He wants to win. So I think USC has a problem that it's been the same for better part of a decade. They don't get enough defensive talent. Auburn started to address that last year. They got a really good D-line class too, so they're on the rise, but probably he wants to see more. I just don't see how Colorado or any of those schools fit what Georgia and them are doing, though. He could have went to Georgia early. That ship has sailed. But now, like Auburn or SC or any of these schools, he's going to be taking a little bit of a gamble, because it's still going to be a while for any of them could reach anywhere near what Georgia's at.
You mentioned that the NIL desires for JuJu and his dad are substantial. When you look at these three schools that we agree are the biggest contenders, who's in the best situation NIL-wise to offer that as a significant component?
Doesn't matter between SC and Auburn. They both have boatloads of money. I don't know how Colorado's works. I've heard different things, and Deion has different rules about it. Like, you come in, you get X. If you prove something, you get more, which I love that. How about some merit for what you get? That's a great concept too. And some of the kids didn't like it when he got there. And that's why a lot of guys leave. Well, you guys didn't do anything in spring ball. Why are we going to pay you more? I amen to that as well. But I don't know if they have the same kind of cachet that SC does. I mean, they got Hollywood stars donating money. That's a different kind of animal. And Auburn's pockets are forever. I would imagine those two would lead the race, but what he's asking for is more than money. There's some other things involved in terms of like accessibility and seats and stuff like that. it's a really complex deal. So this isn't just cash. Keep that in mind.
If you were JuJu Lewis looking at these three programs, would you assess how they perform this year and factor that into your decision? Because Colorado, I think, is a bowl team this year. And if Deion proves, I'm not going elsewhere. And I know Brian doesn't care for that particular take, but I mean, that's just, I've said that for a long time here on the show. Their win total opened at 4.5. And then some say because of the influence of Locked On College Football and my discussion of Colorado, the win total moved up to 5.5. Those are just rumors flying around. It's things that have been discussed before. But would you look at how these teams perform and how USC does going into the Big Ten, whether Colorado takes a step forward, how Auburn progresses in year 2 under Hugh Freeze, and use that as a basis for your decision?
Partly, but he needs to be committed before the season to help his class wherever he goes. He's in a bad spot. He can't fix that. Do you want to know if Auburn's really getting better? Of course you do. But if you wait that long, other guys are going to be out of the mix and already committed to other schools that you need to play with you, that are much more likely to go with you to Auburn if you're committed beforehand. It's the chicken and the egg. So he might evaluate after making a decision and flip it. But I think it would be extremely wise to make a definitive decision publicly by no later than like the 10th or 15th of July. It's got to be before the season. It's quarterback play and how that plays out strategically impacts a lot of other recruits and where they go.
So if you were JuJu and you were thinking about that timeline and saying, that's what I need to do. Like, I've got to be committed because I'm the quarterback and I'm the number one quarterback in the class, and I've got to be a guy that lures other recruits for, the early signing day in December and commitments all throughout the fall. If you, Brian Smith, were in that position, whose stock would you want to buy right now? The attention you can get at Colorado and potential progress, USC going into the Big Ten, or Auburn trying to navigate a loaded SEC?
That is really hard. Colorado is just not where I would go. I just don't think that's a program that's invested enough administratively to win big. And their in-state pull for recruiting is terrible. I don't care who the head coach is. It'd be SC or Auburn, and it would be Thiel. I do like that SC went and got a real coordinator. You and I have talked about that before.
Deanton Lynn, he's good.
He is legit. But again, who's playing defense? Do you got to score 45 to beat a mid-level Big Ten team? Now, I don't care who your guy is on defense. It's more about prospects and coaching. It's always been that way. It will continue to be that way. And they're losing them instead of gaining them. Auburn's doing well in recruiting. Their D-line class and stuff last year was good, but they're not far enough along to really project much. That's just feel, because I don't think either one of them you can say, well, they're definitely going to be a national title contender like year 1 or 2 where I'm at. Maybe, but both of them have to hit the inside straight with recruiting in the portal in the next year or so. So I really just think it's gut more than it is anything else.
I think of the two, frankly, of all three, because the Big 12 has just got a long list of teams that can win the Big 12 championship.
True.
I actually think USC gives you the best chance at a conference title in the short term. In the long term, it can be really, really hard to project because these sorts of moves have to take place. You don't know what the portal is going to look like and everything. I just think the Big Ten is slightly easier to navigate than the SEC with
Agreed.
Texas and Oklahoma in there. And the Big 12, it could be kind of a prove it year for Colorado and see, what their long-term prospects are. But certainly this recruitment, you and I have been talking about it for months here on the show. It is not over. JuJu Lewis is still committed to USC, though. And for all the buzz that Colorado generated, I look around and said, look, these guys are decommitting from USC, but that guy's staying put. I'm just saying, Lincoln Riley is not a bum quarterback coach, and
he can recruit too. He's legit as a recruit.
Yeah, and I think USC is making a more concerted effort, even though they've had these guys flip. I see them making more of an effort to push those sorts of buttons and to get back to that recruiting level that USC is capable of. Brian Smith, our Lockdown Recruiting Insider here at the network, brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Brian, thanks as always.